d'Italia, si tratta del pilota della Repubblica Ceca, per la prima volta partecipante ad un Grand Prix, si chiama Tom Enke, 25 anni, corre per i colori della Prost Aster, mentre attenzione vediamo che anche la Sauber Petronas Alpine è costretta a rientrare in una corsia coppia.
And I am a very unhappy man. When the lights go out at the beginning of a Grand Prix, my traditional cry is go, go, go. But are they going to go, go, go today? This is no time, in my opinion, for discussions to be held on the grid about whether they're going to try when the lights go out to start properly or just go round behind each other. I cannot believe that there is unanimity amongst the drivers on the grid. For instance, and I don't say this cynically, Benetton have got a fantastic launch control system. We saw how well it worked in Spa. Jenson Button is in 11th place. Fisichella was going to be starting 14th on the grid, but his car's been removed and he'll be starting from the pit lane because he has a fuel leak. Heidfeld is also going to be starting from the pit lane. There is a lot of indecision and unhappiness on the grid. Montoya is in pole position. His friend and racing partner Alex Zanardi is lying tragically injured in hospital after the Lausitz ring yesterday. Michael Schumacher has been like a graven image the whole weekend and is very unhappy about racing here at all, as is his brother Ralf Schumacher, and they are on the second row of the grid. And I don't know what is going to happen. I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen when the race is supposed to start. Now, Martin has been down on the grid. I've been up in the commentary box trying to assess things for some little time. Can you update us at all? I know you're out of breath running up those steps, Martin, and it is difficult, but have you got any intelligence on what on earth is likely to happen when the lights go out?
They're going to race, which is the only sensible decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got engrossed in a conversation with Bernie and Patrick Head and forgot I was on telly today, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a strange feeling down there. I've seen it twice before. When it was raining heavily in Adelaide in '89, when the drivers were trying to sort of hold a committee meeting on the grid. And I've seen a similar thing in '94 in Monaco, when after Senna's death. But it's silly of them, really. They've done a lot of testing around here. The track hasn't moved or changed, and they should have, if they've got a problem with the track, they should have brought it up somewhat earlier than the morning of the race. But my understanding is that they've all agreed to just go ahead and race, probably a bit more carefully than normal.
Yeah, when this cropped up originally this morning, there was one dissident voice, and totally predictably, I understand it was Jacques Villeneuve, because the French Canadian is very much his own man, and his attitude, and I have to say I think it is the right attitude, is that we are here to race, not to go round in single file when the lights go out and the race is supposed to start. But one way or the other, we're going to get the answer very soon, because in less than a minute now, as you look at a couple of cars, well, one car there down there in the pit lane, it's the Sauber of Nick Heidfeld, who is a very, very sad man, incidentally, because he had hoped he was going to get the McLaren drive that his Sauber teammate Kimi Raikkonen has got. Heidfeld, I should think, probably felt that as the McLaren test driver for a couple of years, and having had a distinguished career with Sauber this year, he could expect to and possibly hope to get that drive, but it was not to be. So Heidfeld starting from the pit lane, and so also Giancarlo Fisichella. So watch when the cars come round. Try to have a look down at the 6th row of the grid, and you'll see Jenson Button's Benetton there, the light blue car. It's the last time that the Italian Benetton team are going to be racing in the Italian Grand Prix as an Italian team, because next year they are going to be Renault and French, and this is the formation lap which will precede this very significant start.
The problem with the first lap here is that it's a one-stop race. All those cars will be brim full of fuel, It's a long way down to the first chicane, so you build up a lot of speed, and as ever the brakes will be cold, the front tyres will be cold when they get there. So a lot of opportunity for the concertina effect, especially if you're on the right hand side of the track. You can't see the braking points clearly, and especially if, understandably, on the first lap you're up close behind another car, you can't see around their rear wing, so you do tend to get like a piano accordion effect. And last year, as we know well, that carried on down towards the second chicane, which is a similar situation. You're building up to well over 200 miles an hour again. Still, everything is not up to normal operating temperature. First thing on Friday morning, we saw on a cold track here, Verstappen, Raikkonen just crashing off the road because brakes weren't up to temperature, tyres weren't up to temperature. It is a crucial situation like that here because you're running such low downforce to achieve these high top speeds, such cars not being pressed down onto the track with the security that you get at other types of Grand Prix circuit around the world, with the exception of course of Hockenheim. So that is why it's difficult, but you know, there is only one decision: you race or you go home. You can't start a race under a safety car situation, otherwise you'll start applying that to all sorts of circumstances, Murray.
Yeah. Well, pole position, average speed here, average speed around this circuit. Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams BMW, 157.6 miles an hour. That doesn't mean that speed somewhere on the circuit, that means averaging that speed around the whole lap. And they are doing some 220 miles an hour at some points of this circuit. This is the parabolica that you are looking at now, turn 11 in this 11-turn circuit. What that smoke flare is doing over there, I can't imagine, and I hope somebody gets it out of the way before they come round on the first racing lap. As they exit the parabolica and form up on the grid, Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia, his third pole position in the last 4 races. He was there at Hockenheim in Germany, Belgium in Spa, and here at Monza in Italy. And there are the 2 cars that will be starting from the pit lane, Heidfeld Sauber and Jenson Button's Benetton, and they have removed the smoke flare. Good. So, to the right of your picture, Juan Pablo Montoya. This is a 53-lap race. On the left of your picture in front is Rubens Barrichello, and behind Montoya is Michael Schumacher, a man with 52 Grand Prix wins behind him, 4 World Championships behind him. How much does he want to race here today?
Safety car in the background was warming his tyres up. I don't think I've ever seen that one before. All calm then, a space in front of Pedro de la Rosa. You can see 4 cars down on the left hand side. Of course, that is where the Sauber should be.
Do we have a race or not? 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. And it's go. And sure enough, Jenson Button in the Benetton comes streaking through, maximising the launch control benefit. It's Juan Pablo Montoya leading, and the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher in 3rd position behind Rubens Barrichello. A spinner already. That will be Jarno Trulli up at the front of the grid, and it is.
I think you'll find Jenson Button got involved in that. He used his great start and ended up once again at least a row ahead of where he started the race. And I think when we see a replay of that, you're going to see Button involved in it, but the front 4 then away cleanly.
Yeah, Montoya leading, and Ralf Schumacher was in 3rd position. His brother's challenging him on the inside in the Ferrari and takes the place. That is the answer. When the lights go out, the red mist comes down, and they are racing. Pablo Montoya is leading, the 2 Ferraris behind him, and Ralf Schumacher is up there too in the Williams BMW. So 2 Ferraris, 2 Williams BMWs sandwiching the Scarlet cars. Then it is David Coulthard in 5th position, and Pedro de la Rosa is up into 6th position. That is an excellent start. He's made up 4 places on the first lap, down into the parabolica, and Jenson Button at the back of the field. Look, his front wing is missing. His dynamic start has availed him nothing, so a terrible race already for Benetton, with Fisichella starting from the pit lane. Jenson Button, who started 11th, is down in the pecking order. 1 lap completed, and it is Montoya in the lead.
Waved yellow flags, meaning the track could be blocked, and then Ralf Schumacher, using the escape road, did not gain or maintain a position will not be penalised for that this time around. Yellow flags as they were still clearing away the debris. We'll wait to see a replay. Hopefully, I think you'll find Button tripped over Truly on the way into the first corner, and that should be about 12 to 14 seconds, and he'll be on his way again.
As Montoya leads and Barrichello is in second place, Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari in third position ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Replay of start.
There we go. Now watch the blue car about 10 in the light blue car of Button. It's over the white line at the moment, coming down the right hand side, making an enormous amount of space. Look, and braking very, very late is Jensen, but up the inside of Coulthard, and now straight into Truly. Jensen leaving it too late on that occasion, a little bit too deep, Jensen.
And somebody went up into the escape road as well, didn't spot who it was, but now we are on lap 2.
Hakkinen it was who went up the escape road, and Button and Coulthard then squeezing through De La Rosa, 2 at the front of that pack. Truly has an engine at that moment, but then appeared to stall out a little bit later on. And we should talk also about the great move by Michael Schumacher alongside his brother on the way into the first of the Lesmo curve. So again, I'd like to see a replay of that if the Italian director fancies it, because it was a super move.
So it looks like the 7th retirement for Jarno Trulli, who has this gift of starting brilliantly because he was in 5th place on the grid and then failing for one reason or another in the race. Not his fault today because he was nerfed by Jenson Button, but Montoya still leads ahead of the 2 Ferraris. Look at the gap between Ralf Schumacher, who is in 4th place. David Coulthard is 3.5 seconds now in 5th position behind the Williams BMW of Ralf Schumacher. De La Rosa is ahead of his teammate Eddie Irvine. De La Rosa in the points in the Jaguar in 6th place. Eddie Irvine in 7th position. The Arrows is doing well. Jos Verstappen has come up through the field. He is in 8th position. A tremendously fast starting man, the Dutchman Jos Verstappen. He's made up a lot of places and he's ahead of Kimi Raikkonen, who started 8th and is now 9th. Jordan Lacey has come up from 16th on the grid to 10th in the sole Jordan now, with Jarno Trulli definitely the first and so far the only retirement in the Italian Grand Prix. Lap 3, replay.
There's Michael then just committed himself to the inside line and left it up to Ralph to take the decision. Will he turn in on him or will he give him the space? Sensibly gave him the space. The Ferraris are faster in this sector of the race. Interesting little aside, Button running into Trulli, providing Buttons at Renault next year. They will be teammates and they've had a few run-ins before, haven't they?
Yeah, and now Rubens Barrichello is getting the loud pedal down. Fastest lap so far in this 3-lap race completed so far out of 53. Rubens has just gone round in 1 minute 26.4, which is about half a second slower than the fastest lap last year, but it's very early days yet. Martin said just a few moments ago that the cars have got very heavy fuel loads, of course. It's a traditional one-stop race here, and I would expect them to be coming in probably not before lap 30. Lap 32 was when they started coming in out of 53 laps last year. We ride with Rubens Barrichello now as he comes up towards the Ascari curves. That's the left-hander at turn 8, then they sweep right fleetingly turn 9, which he's at now. Out of turn 10, the left-hander building up to 215 miles an hour down to the Parabolica.
This is Jacques Villeneuve's view of that run down to the first corner. Remember the man this morning who said, I'm racing whatever you lot are doing, but he wasn't racing there, was he? Off the throttle very, very early. Maybe they didn't spread the message to him that it was game on after all, and Jacques sort of just darting through the traffic, running over the debris, may or may not get away with that, and that's Hakkinen recovering from the escape road, and Hakkinen maintains 13th place in this race. So
Montoya has accepted the challenge from Rubens Barrichello by going faster again. Fastest lap so far, 1:26.089 by Juan Pablo Montoya, who could have and probably should have won 2 Grand Prix already this year. This is the 15th race in in a 17 race series. Montoya failed to do so. He was famously taken out in Brazil when he was in the lead by Jos Verstappen. Now, if the BMW engine can hold together, because it's under terrific stress, he had a problem in the Spa Grand Prix, and this is Jos Verstappen diving inside the Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa, but the Spaniard de la Rosa has retaken that place. He's still in 6th position, and look at the first three, covering the first three, less than 1 second now on racing speed, and they're pulling away from Ralf Schumacher in the Williams. The gap is 5 seconds covering the first 4, then there's a big gap before David Coulthard, another 4 seconds back, leads Pedro de la Rosa. Things are starting to get a little spread out.
De la Rosa going backwards indeed. Verstappen, I do believe, has passed him, and so now has Raikkonen. So problem then for the Jaguar. He's now the victim of a Jordan 2, and Button then retires from the Grand Prix. No immediate visible signs as to why.
Well, Juan Pablo Montoya, that we're looking at now in the lead, is a very cool customer. The man from Colombia. He is leading the race now. He's used to leading races. He's the past Champ Car champion in America. He's won the Indy 500 in America, Formula 3000 champion, and that was the problem with Jenson Button's car. That is the Renault engine saying very early on in the race, I've had it, Jenson, you can go on, I've had enough, I'm pulling out. And that's exactly what has happened. Montoya, and then Rubens Barrichello, and then Michael Schumacher, Louise Goodman.
Yeah, with a rather upset and understandably looking Jarno Trulli. Jarno, very bad luck taken out and by your future teammate as well.
Yeah, unfortunately this is what they told me, because I had a very good start. I managed to keep my position, but unfortunately I was hit by a car, and then I found out that was Button which miscalculating the brake.
So you didn't see him coming, first thing you knew about it was the bump?
Oh yeah, I was already in the corner.
Yet again, a brilliant qualifying and come to nothing.
Well, let's try.
This is the situation at the moment.
Thanks, Jarno.
Let's try and explain it as Mika Häkkinen now gets ahead of Pedro de la Rosa, and we'll try and explain the situation there with Jarno Trulli and Jenson Button. Jenson Button knew that his opportunity with his magnificent launch control system on the Benetton was at the start. He took his advantage, he left his braking too late at the first chicane and slam bang into the back of Jarno Trulli.
It was Irvine being passed by Häkkinen. So both Jaguars, for some reason, just literally falling back through the field with no apparent straight line speed.
Lap 7 out of 53, top 10. Montoya leads Barrichello and Schumacher. 4th is Ralf Schumacher. 5th is David Coulthard. 6th is Jos Verstappen. 7th is Raikkonen. 8th is Alesi. 9th is the Jaguar of De La Rosa. And Bernoldi's Arrows is in 10th place as we go for a break. See the yellow flags waving there. David Coulthard from 5th position has gone out of the Italian Grand Prix, and so that means to say that up into 5th place goes Jos Verstappen. I only caught a glimpse of it, Martin. Were you any more in touch than I was?
Looked like engine failure to me from what I could see. It looks like a car that was parked rather than crashed, and look, rear wheels locked up, so big failure inside the engine then of the Mercedes-Benz of David Coulthard. So bad news for his fight for 2nd place in the World Championship.
But look at this, and look in particular at the yellow car in the background. It is Jean Alesi, and Jean Alesi started down at 16th on the grid, and he's now up into 8th position, closing up on Kimi Raikkonen's Sauber, and ahead of Kimi Raikkonen is Jos Verstappen in the Arrows, now in an incredible 5th position. The Dutchman well up into the points. Now up front it's still the same, and you're looking at the 2 Ferraris of Barrichello and Michael Schumacher chasing Juan Pablo Montoya in in the Williams BMW as Michael Schumacher starts to put the pressure on. He's just had the fastest first section of all so far during the race, and this terrific scrap going on for 5th, 6th, 7th, and you're looking at it now. Verstappen in the arrows. Behind him is Raikkonen in the Ferrari engine Sauber, and he runs a bit wide as Jean Alesi, the veteran French Sicilian, the oldest man in the race, 199th Grand Prix. He loves this place. He's nearly won at Monza for Ferrari, and he's really got the bit between his teeth now. Oh, this is a battle to savour, and Michael Schumacher is now continuing to press. It's still Juan Pablo Montoya, but Barrichello is getting a bit closer, and Michael Schumacher has now really got hold of things as we see. Look at this, David Coulthard out of the race. The Mercedes-Benz engine has let go in a big way, and David Coulthard from 5th position is out of the race. Now that means to say this is incredible.
Lead change, Mary. Barrichello has passed Montoya. Ferrari's then very much looking like the car to be in again at this stage of the race. Montoya's car started to get loose in the last 4 or 5 laps, and Barrichello appears to be the man with the best car underneath him, certainly on this set of tyres. And here we see it was slow out of the second chicane and easy then for Barrichello to get clear track position into the first Lesmo. Don't know exactly, maybe Montoya outbraked himself slightly. We have seen him locking a front on several occasions through the race so far.
Right, well now let's make a prediction. Rubens Barrichello is fighting for 2nd place in the Drivers' World Championship. He's in 3rd position at the moment, 9 points behind David Coulthard, who is out of the race. Michael Schumacher passed Rubens Barrichello in Austria when Barrichello moved over to let him through to gain 2 extra world points toward the World Championship. And Schumacher has always said, I will help Barrichello when it is appropriate for me to do so. It's certainly appropriate now because Barrichello is leading and Schumacher is in 3rd place. James Allen, what's new?
There could be a clue, Murray, to what is happening with Montoya in the performance of his teammate Ralf Schumacher, who's been a second a lap off this leading trio for most of this last few laps. I have a feeling that the Michelin tyres have degraded faster than the Bridgestones. Ralf Schumacher also probably carrying a bit more fuel, as is Montoya. It looks like Michael is lining up a pass on Montoya now.
He certainly is as they come out of the second Lesmo. Montoya can see that scarlet Ferrari with the black nose cone big in his mirrors as they come up to the Ascari bends. And Michael Schumacher will be trying to get a passing move as they come down to the Parabolica at well over 200 miles an hour.
Yeah, I agree completely with James. It's a tyre issue. He's losing overall grip and balance, and as hard as you try, you can't make the difference. And then sometimes the harder you try, the slower you go. So Montoya then on his back foot, and look, you can see the car moving around as he tries to get on the power in the middle of the Parabolica. Compare that with qualifying yesterday, where he was glued to the racetrack at all times with that succession of laps that would put him on pole. Now a few laps into the race, we've just finished lap 10, and the rubber of those Michelin tyres not giving him the grip he needs.
And a perfect scenario for Rubens Barrichello, who started this race 9 points behind 2nd place David Coulthard in the Drivers' Championship. David Coulthard out of the race, he's retired with a blown engine, and Rubens Barrichello leads the Italian Grand Prix with a potential 10 points within his grasp, but there's still a long way to go. And if he wins this race, he will be 1 point ahead of David Coulthard, with still 2 races still to go at Indianapolis in 2 weeks' time, and then the Japanese Grand Prix. But now we look at the battle for 2nd position between Montoya, with, we assume, his Michelin tyres going off. The Bridgestones on the Ferraris are holding extremely well. Barrichello leading. Michael Schumacher has a look as he comes into the Ascari bends. Ralf Schumacher in 4th position is now 11 seconds behind the leader, and he is still lapping faster than Jos Verstappen in an excellent 5th place as Michael Schumacher starts to have a look, but he's not nearly close enough to Montoya to get past yet. Kimi Raikkonen is in 6th position with Jean Alesi tucked up underneath his wing. 7th in the race at the present moment, having started in 16th place. Pedro de la Rosa is 8th ahead of Villeneuve, and Bernoldi, the Brazilian driver, in the second arrow. So both the arrows, and there is Bernoldi, are in the top 10.
Yes, Hakkinen there you saw behind Bernoldi. Does he get a look? No, he does not. So Bernoldi maintaining his position. Stewards will be looking at that. He might just get away with it. He's certainly fighting that car. But Hakkinen then P11 at the moment. Eddie Irvine has dropped down to 18th. So we saw him with problems. And he's last but one at the moment. And there we see again Montoya locking that inside wheel, and that's clearly, I think, why it allowed Barrichello through. He got away with it that time by just literally straight lining the chicane. He's struggling in the Williams.
Yeah, watch this now. Did you get that point that Martin just made? Mika Hakkinen, P11, place 11. He started in P7, place 7. So he's lost 4 places, and he's not getting past Bernoldi in the arrows.
Yeah, all of those were lost though, Marianne Moore, when he ended up negotiating the escape road and the bollards there. He more or less came out last, if you remember. But here we see the unloaded inside tyre locked up, and it's amazing. You lose so much retardation, but get out of jail free card there for Montoya in the shape of a flat piece of tarmac to bounce across instead of a gravel trap.
But he's really, really, really under pressure, and he's under pressure from the 4 times world champion Michael Schumacher. And whatever Michael Schumacher felt before this race began, he is concentrating now. He wants to finish at the very worst in 2nd place. He's not going to, I predict, attempt to catch and pass Rubens Barrichello.
Barrichello scampering off into the lead. He was 1.5 seconds faster as these two settle into their squabble. Michael is ducking around trying to distract Montoya very successfully, it has to be said. Montoya already thinking about defending, and that's slowing them both down. So Barrichello's lead 4.3 seconds.
Well, I remember when Michael Schumacher came back into racing in Malaysia after having broken his leg at Silverstone, how he did everything he could to help his teammate Eddie Irvine win the race, which was exactly what happened. And he will be doing that now, because Michael Schumacher has so far this season scored 104 World Championship points, with 3 races still to go, including this one. And that's as many points as he scored last year. He's on the way not only to having won more Grand Prix than anybody else, he's already done that, but to score more points than anyone else.
But what's nice about this is I don't think Michael Schumacher will have to give him the race. Barrichello's got the better car, ignoring the fact that Schumacher's held up behind Montoya as Fisichella dives across the grass in the first chicane as well. Currently, as you can see, in 16th, having started from the pit lane. But Barrichello's got the better car, and of course this first stint could be 35 to 40 laps depending on what their fuel usage is, and that means I think that Michael won't be in a position to have to give him a race today.
Lap 14 out of 53, fastest lap so far. Rubens Barrichello, 1 minute 25.8, which is about 0.2 of a second outside the lap record on the revised circuit, which Mika Hakkinen created in the year 2000, as Michael Schumacher continues to harry the Colombian Juan Pablo Montoya, and they are now nearly 6 seconds behind Rubens Barrichello, the race leader. So the question is, are those Michelins now settling down? Are they going to be all right? Will they last until Montoya comes in to replace the tyres that he's got now with a new set later on in the race when he refuels? Will the Bridgestones do better? There's David Coulthard walking in. His race is run, and he faces the prospect of seeing Rubens Barrichello pass him for 2nd place in the World Championship. That's only the 4th retirement that David Coulthard has had this year in what's been a wonderful season for him. Not as good as it could have been, but he's already won 2 races, and he's been up there on the podium. I think it's some 7 or 8 times. So there you see, 39 laps to go in this 53-lap race. Nearly 7 seconds between the battle you're looking at now and Barrichello up the road. Now Barrichello won for Ferrari in the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim last year, having started from 18th on the grid in appalling weather conditions. He could be on his way to his second victory, and what a place to win for Rubens Barrichello with his Italian background here at Monza in Italy in front of the Tifosi, the Ferrari home ground.
We think Alesi's at least up to 6th place according to the computer. Just caught a glimpse. We've not been watching that fight. That is Barrichello lapping Alex Young, who's currently in 19th and last place, lapping some 5 seconds a lap slower than the leader. That's why he's been lapped towards the end of 15. There is the tense battle for second place between Montoya and Michael Schumacher, and we wait to see Ralph a long way, 11 seconds behind this fight. He just comes into view at Ascari as this pair head into the apex of the Parabolica, and then is Alesi or Verstappen in 5th? We'll have to wait and see. Here we go, and that is why they've made positions, probably because the Jordan went across the gravel trap, and that's how he made the position. Alesi made the position across. He could do, unless he's yielded back, and he has not yielded that position back.
And I can't see Alesi yielding that position back. He's not that sort of a bloke. Now, it would be very tough from his point of view if, having made up that position, he is obliged to come in for a 10-second stop, because that's far more than 10 seconds penalty. There's all the time you lose coming in, there's all the time you lose getting up to racing speed again. But Jean Alesi has really got the bit between his teeth. Here it is.
I'd like to, this is not a replay, this is the next lap. Wasn't Alesi already ahead of Raikkonen? That's Young, isn't it? On the exit of second, Lesmo, I would guess. Luckily, he's kept the engine going and gets out of harm's way. Otherwise, I think that would have been a safety car situation. So here's the fight for second. Young rejoins the racetrack. I think Alesi was having a go at passing Verstappen. Went across the grass, didn't pass Verstappen. I think he had, I'm guessing he'd already cleared Raikkonen, and therefore, and now he's through. Alesi is through to 5th now.
Yeah, John Alesi is absolutely driving out of his skin. He's driving a magnificent race. As I said, he's the most experienced driver there. He's come up from the Prost team. He feels he's home with Eddie Jordan's team, because he drove for Eddie Jordan in Formula 3000, won the European Championship, lived at Eddie Jordan's home in Oxford, and now he's repaying. And Louise, what's the news?
I'm stood here with Jenson Button. Jenson, great off the line, but tell us about the first corner.
Yeah, the car seemed to work well off the line. And then as I got to brake into the first corner, I got a bit of dust off the tyres. I don't know what it was, cement dust or something. It must have been from the Porsches or something, oil on the inside of the circuit. And I braked pretty much the same time with everyone else, and it just locked up and went straight on, skidded straight on. So sorry to the people that, I caused a problem in that race, but I couldn't do anything about it because I braked as hard as I could or whatever, and it just slipped.
And ultimately, what was the problem? What put you out?
I don't know exactly, but I had lots of smoke in the back, something to do with the engine, I don't know what, but that was it.
Cheers, Jens.
Now, here we are, lap 17. This is the situation. Rubens Barrichello leads the Italian Grand Prix by 8.5 seconds. From a battle between Juan Pablo Montoya, there it is, with Michael Schumacher in the Ferrari underneath his rear wing. 4th is Ralf Schumacher, some 12 seconds behind the battle you're looking at now. 5th, and magnificent 5th, is Jean Alesi in the Jordan Honda. He's got ahead of Raikkonen, he's got ahead of Verstappen, and now Verstappen has dropped back behind Raikkonen, who is 6th. Verstappen in the arrows is in 7th place ahead of the Jaguar of Pedro de la Rosa. Villeneuve is 9th, and Mika Hakkinen, who started in 7th position, is down in 10th place at the present moment, and I tell a lie because Mika Hakkinen is now dropping back all the time. So there is the situation. There are retirements, of course. Jarno Trulli is out after having been collected at the start by Jenson Button, who has also retired. David Coulthard had an engine blow, and Eddie Irvine is out of the race in the Jaguar. 18 cars left out of the 22 who started. Alex Young, the Malaysian, is last but driving well.
Yes, and while Jenson Button was talking, of course, we saw Raikkonen get ahead of Jos Verstappen. That's how come he's up into 6th place.
the Italian Grand Prix settles down a little and we look at Enrico Bernaldi battling for 11th position with Olivier Panis. There is the Frenchman, and they're followed by Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the frost. The likelihood is that Ferraris are going to finish as Michael Schumacher forces Montoya even more so. The Ferraris are well up at the front, and into the pits comes the first car to stop amongst the leaders and draws to a standstill. Michael Schumacher from third place. He's probably decided that he wasn't going to get past Montoya, so the best thing to do is come in and change the boots, change the wheels and tyres on his Ferrari, refuel, and then put in a terrific lap in the hope that Montoya will make a slower pit. Montoya will make a slower pit stop than him, and that Michael Schumacher will be able to rejoin the race in second position after Montoya gets back into it. So the lead now, Rubens Barrichello, still 10 seconds now ahead of Montoya. Michael Schumacher has made his pit stop. Ralf Schumacher in the Williams BMW goes through, and we look down the pit lane, and now we see Montoya. Now the next person through, obviously behind the Williams BMW, as the Colombian comes down to the Ascari curves, will come into our sight in just a moment as Montoya accelerates out, the back of his Williams stepping out slightly, and he's closing up now on Fernando Alonso in the Minardi, who is in 17th place, to lap the Spaniard as in comes the Ferrari. And it is Rubens Barrichello, race leader.
Both Ferraris have pitted. Is complete change of strategy, but Barrichello had a poor pit stop. The fuel nozzle did not go in for a long time, and here is the first of those stops. Michael Schumacher coming in, we think, changing the strategy, probably to try to get him ahead of Montoya. It was a good, clean stop for Michael, and that'll be his. Well, he made two stops this afternoon. We'll see how much they've changed their strategy. This will make Williams very happy. I have to say, now it's Barrichello coming in one lap later. Tyres go on fine, but look, the fuel nozzle, they weren't ready. The fuelers didn't even have the hose in their hands, and Barrichello will wait a full 16 seconds, shaking his head in disbelief, and away he goes. Disaster for Rubens Barrichello.
Well, now, is it payback time for Rubens Barrichello? What is Michael Schumacher going to do when they rejoin the race there? Now, look, here's the replay of the fuel nozzle as we look past the mechanic, and you can see the problem that's the fuel nozzle that Nigel Stepney used to control, and Mika Häkkinen is off the course in the McLaren. David Coulthard has already retired. Mika Häkkinen is out of the race, I think, was in ninth position, and I cannot see Mika. He's obviously stalled his engine or lost the power. So both the McLarens on lap 21 of this 53-lap race, coming up towards half distance, are out of the race. No points for McLaren in the Constructors' Championship, but there's a 22 points gap between them and Williams, who are in third position at the present moment. Montoya is in the top six, of course, and Ralf Schumacher is now in second position, not having stopped any more than Montoya has. On lap 21, it's Montoya leading Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello, who has stopped, is in third place ahead of Michael Schumacher, who has stopped.
I think Williams will be every bit as surprised as we are that those Ferraris have gone for an apparent two-stopper. I thought Michael was coming in to try to give him track position. They had enough distance back to third and fourth place man to make that stop and hold position and try to leapfrog past the Williams of Montoya, but it seems as if it could be a strategy they intended. But then in that case, why wasn't the fuel hose ready for Rubens Barrichello? Did he misunderstand the radio message, or what's gone on there? There has been a problem, no doubt about it, for the Ferrari team. Häkkinen's car then over the barrier with the tractor, yellow flags waving to warn the drivers that there are men and marshals on the racetrack. So Montoya leads from Schumacher, Barrichello and Michael Schumacher. So Barrichello did stay ahead of Michael Schumacher. James, what do you make of that?
Well, it's very interesting. There was absolutely no sign before it happened that they were going to do a two-stop strategy, and I was with you, Martin, thinking that maybe it was a switch. But if you look at it closely, they were turning some pretty tasty lap times, and of course they have also seen that the Michelin tyre performance is not all it might be. Those guys on the Michelins are struggling, and they will do for the rest of this stint. They've got fuel on board. They're probably going to do another 10 or 15 laps. It may be that the fuel hoses were both on for a long time with Ferrari, and it may be that they've switched it. They were on originally a two-stop strategy, but they have put plenty of fuel in, and they might be able to outrun the Williamses, because the Williamses don't look comfortable at the moment. Currently, Michael Schumacher 28 seconds behind race leader Montoya, Barrichello 23 seconds, and that's not enough for Montoya to get in and get back out again in front. So it's touch and go, but I have a feeling that's what's happening.
Well, who says, Martin, it's a two-stop strategy? Why shouldn't they have come in early, taken on enough fuel to do the rest of the race distance?
Well, they may have done, but Michael wasn't stationary for that long. But of course, he carried a lot of, if he was one stopping, he carried a lot of fuel at the start of the race anyway. So probably only needed about 18 laps worth of fuel to see him through to the end. So we'll have to wait and see. That is a great unknown. Bernoldi doing what he apparently does best in Formula 1 and blocking a lot of people, and they're going very, very slowly in the process.
Mika Häkkinen waves to the crowd. He retires again from the Italian Grand Prix. Remember the time when he frustratedly threw his gloves down to the ground, having lost the lead, and Mika Häkkinen is out of a Grand Prix for the 8th time this season in this, the 15th race. Louise Goodman.
With David Coulthard, one of several retirements. David, quite a heavy rate of attrition so far. Is that always a worry at this race?
Well, you know, you kind of hope for it in other people's cars, but you don't want it in your own car. So obviously disappointed that some sort of engine failure of some description. So we'll find out later on.
Not been a brilliant weekend for McLaren, has it?
No, it's been a very difficult weekend. We've had a few problems along the way, and but nonetheless, we still hope to get points. You know, we know we can't win every race, and we've always had a difficult year this season, but I still felt it was possible to maybe pick up a couple of points.
Just one final question for you. What was Michael saying to you, all the drivers, before the race?
Well, we tried to get an agreement between all the drivers to avoid an incident, and largely we achieved that, but then the team owners obviously stepped in, and then they started to break everyone up, and you know, we just all agreed to be sensible and try and avoid an incident. So that's what I tried to do, and pretty much agreed something with Jarno that if I hadn't passed him before the first corner, then we weren't going to risk the incident at the first turn. So a little disappointed that Jensen decided to come down the inside. Clearly, you know, ruined his race by doing that, and it could have caused, you know, other damage to other cars. So, you know, we're all out there to win, and this is a competition. It's not a moving over situation, but obviously emotions are running high, and I think that if the word goes out that we're all going to be sensible, I believe that all the drivers should stick to it. You know, if you can't be unanimous in that, then what can we do?
Thanks, David.
Well, the trouble is, of course, you can't consult with all the drivers, and you can't guarantee that they will all be sensible. Enrico Bernoldi then in the arrows coming towards us is continuing to block, as he did with David Coulthard at Monaco so noteworthily, and Panis continues to dodge about underneath the wing of the arrows to look for a way to get through into 9th position, and Bernoldi continues to thwart him. We're on lap 24 now, and lap 26 is about half distance in this 53 lap race, as over the line goes Bernoldi 8th, Panis 9th, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen in 10th position up to the first chicane, and Bernoldi turns in, clips the apex, no way they're going to get through there, and closing up in the background you can see Fisichella in the Benetton, who is in 11th position. He's taking advantage of the fact that Bernoldi is holding up Panis and holding up Frentzen to close up in that 11th position and look for a way through.
The good news for Alesi is he's managed to pit. He's clearly on a two-stopper as well, and managed to pit and come back out in 7th place, because this line behind Bernoldi is lapping very slowly. But I have to say, Murray, everybody knows, the paddock acknowledges this is a one-stop race, so it's just amazing to see so many cars pitting so early.
Well, We're on lap 25 now, and Montoya's lead over his teammate Ralf Schumacher is 21 seconds. He's yet to stop, as has Ralf Schumacher in the second Williams BMW. It's looking like a Williams 1-2 at the moment. Third is Barrichello ahead of Michael Schumacher. 2 Williams, 2 Ferraris, followed by Pedro de la Rosa up into 5th place in the Jaguar, and Jacques Villeneuve is 6th in the BAR. We'll be back. Well, say what you like, Martin, about Bernaldi, but you have to admit that that Arrows has got a lot of grunt from the Asia Tech engine, and it is a very slippery motor car on these straights, and Panis, who's got a lot of power in the Honda engine, cannot get past.
Absolutely, he's getting near enough, just about at the end of the straights, but can't make it stick when he gets there. Bernaldi able to brake reasonably late, but and positioning his car such that it'd be nearly impossible in normal circumstances to get past him. I guess that's his job in some respects, but I think 1 or 2 of his moves have been a little bit over aggressive.
Well, they're coming up now to one of the Minardis. I think it's Alex Young from Malaysia, who's running well. He's 17th and last. He's been lapped already, but this is his first Grand Prix after having had a very torrid time in practice and in qualifying yesterday. Very calm, mature, sensible young man who's going a lot faster than people expected him to, as is Fisichella that we ride with now. And the car that you see in front of you as it flashes down towards the Parabolica ahead of Fisichella is Heinz-Harald Frenzen's car. Now, there is Panis, and he is 9th. Bernaldi slides wide. Now, this is Panis's opportunity, but he's still not close enough. But he is now. He's getting very close indeed, and he might just manage to squeeze through as they go through to the Rettifilio, and he's having a good look on the inside. Can Bernaldi cut across? And the answer will be yes, and Panis has to yield. But it's getting very, very fraught indeed with this battle for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th between Bernaldi, Panis, Frentzen and Fisichella. Panis looking again as they go round the grand curve. And it's getting very fraught here at Monza. Alex Young, there he is in the black Minardi with the red flashes on the front wing. He's being caught to be lapped by a monumental battle for 8th place between Bernaldi, Panis, Frentzen, Fisichella, and Heidfeld is closing up there as well. And the reason they're all getting so close is that Bernaldi is going slower than they would like to go, but they can't get past him.
Now, and you saw in the in Fisichella's overhead camera there, the front of that little pack was Bernaldi defending strongly his current 8th place position, and Panis looking more and more frustrated, it has to be said. Can he now make something of catching the Minardi? Young is very much driving his own pace, 4 seconds off the ultimate pace of this Grand Prix, and he moves to the left out of the way. Panis then nowhere near this time.
But Panis gets through. Young runs wide. That's a very sensible and responsible bit of driving. He knows he's much slower. It's his first Grand Prix. He's going to get out of the way and let them get on with the battle. And we ride with Fisichella, Giancarlo Fisichella, who started from the pit lane with after a fuel leak. He's in the spare car, the spare Benetton, and he's worked his way up now into 11th place, right behind Frentzen.
I think I can see out of the window the Williams mechanics getting ready for a stop. Montoya, of course, leads. Then we haven't seen him for a while in vision. He's 22 seconds ahead of teammate Ralf Schumacher in 2nd place. And Barrichello did indeed hold 3rd, or hold station ahead of Schumacher. Michael, that is, after that disastrous pit stop when the fuel hose wasn't ready. They're 3 seconds behind Ralf, and 5.2 seconds Michael is behind Barrichello for 4th place. De La Rosa then and Villeneuve fighting it out for 5th and 6th, some 20-odd seconds down the road.
And this 4-car battle led by Bernoldi in 8th position is turning into a 6-car battle, because now Heidfeld is closing up in 12th position in the Sauber. There he is, and behind Helmut Kimi Räikkönen.
And here's Montoya, your race leader, about to come up behind that enormous squabble. So sensibly, Williams are going to bring him in this time around. He cuts in to the pit lane. It's an amazing pit lane here at Monza. You can attack it absolutely at 200 miles an hour, and then you've got to get on the spot. James Allen's there.
Cutting the race in half then, Juan Montoya coming in for his one and only fuel stop. He had a 25.7 second lead over Rubens Barrichello, and he was just about to catch that group, as you rightly pointed out. It's going to be very tight for him to get back out in front of Barrichello. Has he done it?
Well, we'll see. Montoya exits the pit lane now. I'm looking for Barrichello. There he is in the background. And we lost the picture, the critical picture. There is the Ferrari, and he goes through, and I think he's in front of Montoya, and they're up amongst this battle now. There is Rubens Barrichello in the naked Ferrari from the point of view of sponsorship stickers.
So that's second place then for Barrichello. Remember, Ralf Schumacher is still in front of him and has not pitted at this time. Rubens has made his stop. Michael's made a stop too, 3rd and 4th. Will they stop again? Do you know? I haven't got a clue.
No, it's my guess that they're not going to stop, but it is no more than a guess. I've got no privileged information, but I do know that there is Rubens Barrichello, and he needs to win this race to enable him to move up to 2nd in the Drivers' Championship, just 1 point ahead of David Coulthard if he does so, with 2 races still to go in America at Indianapolis. And there is the Williams BMW. Here is the Ferrari diving past the outside of Bernoldi.
Yes, and that's Bernoldi who's just pitted, so that's why he's not got the crocodile tail behind him of people clamouring to get past him. So Bernoldi has just made a pit stop. That's freed up Panis, Frentzen, Fisichella. Räikkönen had made a stop, and he got hooked up behind that battle too. Heidfeld was 12th, who started from the back of the grid.
And of course, this is the stage of the race when things get very confused indeed with the pit stops, particularly in view of the fact that they are in such a ragged pattern in comparison with what we're used to at Monza. Last year, for instance, the earliest pit stop we had was Jos Verstappen, who came in on lap 32, subsequently finished in 4th place. But now we watch Juan Pablo Montoya. He's in 3rd place, and he is out of the race goes Frentzen. Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Prost with the Ferrari Acer engine is out of the Italian Grand Prix. But he's done a lot of good for the Prost team. His experience and maturity are helping them develop that car well. But Ralf Schumacher now on lap 30, yet to stop, leads the Italian Grand Prix from Rubens Barrichello by about 3.5 seconds. So for sure, when he does come in, it's going to be the Ferrari in the lead.
Yes, I still think that they managed to bring Montoya in to avoid him having to pass that queue of people. Smart move then. Ralf has not needed to do that because he was 22 seconds behind. He has not caught that group at this time. He can run a little bit longer, probably nearer to where he was scheduled to stop. But there you can see the gap then. It's 3.7 seconds to Barrichello. Michael Schumacher then a further 5.5 seconds away. And that's Montoya, of course, 5.5 seconds away. Schumacher falling back a little bit, not lapping at all fast, Michael Schumacher. 1:27.0 last time around. What's he going to do over the line this time? He's coming up to it soon. And 27.1, so Michael off the pace at this time.
Yeah, and you never know with Michael Schumacher. He's such a canny operator. This is his 159th Grand Prix, his 11th year of Grand Prix racing since he began with the Jordan team at that memorable Belgian Grand Prix in 1991. And his brain is like a computer, like a calculator. He's sizing up all the odds and all the opportunities all the time. But it's his brother Ralf in the lead at the present moment, and he's just made the fastest lap of this race. 1:25.671, and that is about 200ths of a second off the fastest lap, a new lap record on this revised circuit that Mika Häkkinen put up last year. And we're now with Fisichella in the Benetton, the sole Benetton. There are 16 cars left out of the 22 who started. Verstappen is out, Hakkinen is out, Irvine is out, Coulthard is out, both the McLarens. Button is out and Jarno Trulli is out, as Fisichella, who was in 9th position, concludes his pit stop. Up goes the board to stop the petrol smashing onto the exhaust outlets, and out of the lane goes Fisichella.
Brand new set of rear Michelins, a very, very well used set of fronts that they put on Fisichella's car to try to keep the balance, try to stop this problem they have from time to time with the Michelins, with the front going away and then coming back in terms of performance. Ralph then still on his original set of tyres. He's on lap 32 and still he's now 4.4 seconds ahead of Barrichello, a little bit faster last time around.
But he's still got to stop, of course, and 22 laps to go. It's amazing how quickly this Italian Grand Prix goes. Tremendously fast circuit, of course, lapping at about 150 miles an hour. The fastest race of all time, the average by Peter Gethin in 1971 in the BRM, at nearly 151 miles an hour. And if that seems strange to you, there was not then, of course, a chicane at the Rettifilio, there was not one at the Roger, there was not one at the Ascari turns either, and James Allen has got news for us.
Okay, Murray, let's look at a few of the possibilities here. We're just asking, do Ferrari have to stop again? Well, it's certainly intriguing. The battle for this race win, from my view, is between Montoya and Rubens Barrichello, because Ralf Schumacher was quite a long way behind those two, if you remember, in the first phase of this race. To get through to the finish, Ferrari they stopped on lap 17, 18. They would have to have 100 kilos of fuel on board from that point onwards to make it to the finish. Now that's an awfully long fuel stop. It's about 11 or 12 seconds. I remember seeing Rubens being slow, but it was because the nozzle wasn't going on properly. Michael's fuel nozzle went on properly and he stopped for 10 seconds. So it's difficult to read this. It is actually possible they're on a two-stop plan. I'm told that when they were here testing last month, they were running two-stop fuel loads, possibly in anticipation of this. And another theory floated by an engineer from a rival team is they may have a slight brake problem today as well. Either way, it's certainly going to be very interesting in the next 10 or 15 laps to see how it all shakes out. Watch the battle between Montoya and Rubens.
Yeah, I agree with you on that battle. I mean, all of the cars there have got dustbin lids for brake ducts. They do use the brakes very heavily. I'm not sure if you're right on the 100 kilos, and you may well be, I'm not sure if the Ferrari will take 100 kilos of fuel, or any other of the Formula 1 cars for that matter. So it's pointing then that Ferrari will stop again.
And as Ralf Schumacher again increases his pace in the first sector, more news from Louise Goodman.
Yeah, I'm stood in the paddock with Mika Hakkinen. Mika, we just saw your car off to the side of the track. Tell us why you retired.
Looks like the gearbox gave up. I lost the gears and lost the drive of the car, and that's it.
You obviously made your decision to step back from the sport before this weekend, but in light of everything that's happened this weekend, that must have just reinforced your view, hasn't it?
Yeah, sure. I think this is one of the reasons why it's good to have a break. You know, I've been having a difficulties many years, and this is one of the reasons. But guys, you know, we have to understand. You know, this is not only the reason. This is not only the reason why I go to the break. You know, there is plenty of other things.
Thanks, Mika.
You heard it here on F1 ITV. You also saw, while Mika was speaking, a slightly chaotic looking pit stop for Jean Alesi. Looks like they weren't expecting him in the pits. Bit of musical chairs with his tyres as they were running around the car. So Alesi then, for his second stop of the afternoon, he was in P7 when he came in. He has been flying through the day. He appears to be running a two-stopper, which explains his relative pace compared to qualifying, I think. But Jean Alesi nonetheless going well.
Yeah, and he'll regain that sixth position, I think, because Jacques Villeneuve has just come into the pits. There he is from sixth position, which should enable the French Sicilian Jean Alesi to get back into the sixth position and into the points. He's already scored a point for Jordan, and he's only been with the team for a race or two. And here is he is coming down towards the Parabolica now, pursued by race leader Ralf Schumacher, and his advantage over Rubens Barrichello has increased from 3.7 seconds to 5.2 seconds. Montoya is still third, 14 seconds behind the leader. Michael Schumacher is still fourth, 2 seconds behind Montoya, and catching him, Pedro Della Rosa in the Jaguar is up there in the points in 5th place, and John Lacey has made a pit stop, as a result of which he's actually down to 8th position now. Villeneuve has been in, and where he is at the moment, I don't know. We have to wait and see.
So only two men not to yet pit. Leader Ralf Schumacher, who's running the typical race here at Monza that we've had now for several years of running as far as you can, but we know he was too slow in the first sector of the race. Got to do something special. Just put in a new fastest lap of the race. He's trying to do something special. Barrichello now 6 seconds behind him. The other man not yet to have stopped is 5th place man Pedro Della Rosa, quietly minding his own business, doing a good job.
Well, Ralf Schumacher last year, who finished in 3rd place, left it until lap 43 to come in. Now, admittedly, he had a very different BMW engine. The Minardi team have got a problem down there with the right rear for Alonso's car. It looks as though they can't get it seated properly on the spigots, and on goes the wheel gun, and we now look at the Williams BMW of Ralf Schumacher coming through to complete his 35th lap in this 53-lap race, and increasing his lead yet again momentarily as he comes into the pits. Now Rubens Barrichello takes the lead in the Ferrari. He was only 6 seconds behind Montoya. It's going to be a close run thing for 2nd place as Ralf Schumacher exits the pit lane between himself and his teammate Juan Pablo Montoya, who has of course already stopped.
Took a twister front wing out of that car of Ralf Schumacher. They can make a quick adjustment on that to give him a bit less grip at the front, maybe the back end sliding a bit too much, generate a touch more understeer to balance the car up. So Ralf then is beginning to have a good race. Pity he lost so much in the early stages, and this is going to be fascinating to see how this one shakes out. Really is intriguing. It's going to be a tough one to call, Murray.
17 laps to go, and they are averaging about 1 minute 25 seconds per lap as Rubens Barrichello comes towards us now in the Ferrari down to the Ascari curves. He has of course lapped the Minardi, and on lap 36 Ralf Schumacher leads Barrichello. Montoya, Schumacher, Michael, Pedro Della Rosa is still 5th, and Jacques Villeneuve is 6th. Well, I didn't know how this race was going to develop at all when they were lined up on the grid with all the indecision about what was going to happen. It has turned out to be a real stormer, and thank heavens for that. Now we're on lap 37, as you see Michael Schumacher there. He's closing up on Montoya. There is the 4 times world champion. As you can see, there's slightly less than 1.3 seconds between them, and Michael Schumacher is lapping a 10th or 2 faster than the Colombian, which is enabling to inch up. But it's traffic that's going to be the question now as they go into the Roja. You can see, for instance, Montoya closing up on Fisichella, who's down in 10th position at the present moment. The Jaguar in the pit lane of Pedro de la Rosa. He came in 5th position. He was a long way ahead, and there goes the Williams BMW past Fisichella, which is now leaving the way for Michael Schumacher to do the same thing, and that's a help for Montoya, who is on his 37th lap in this 53-lap race. A big gap between Michael Schumacher, who is 3rd, and his brother Ralf, who is in 4th position. But as we expected, it is, as it has been all the way, a battle between the Ferraris of Michael Schumacher and Barrichello and the 2 Williams BMWs of Montoya and Ralf Schumacher. Both the McLarens are out of the race. There are 15 cars left out of the 22 that started, with Trulli, Button, Coulthard, Irvine, Hakkinen, Verstappen and Heinz-Harald Frentzen having retired from the Italian Grand Prix. 38 out of 53, and Rubens Barrichello leads the Italian Grand Prix from Montoya's BMW. Williams 13 seconds. Michael Schumacher, there he is, right up behind the Williams BMW and ahead of his brother by 7 seconds. Ralf Schumacher in the second Williams. Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar is still in the points, 5th place ahead of Jacques Villeneuve's BAR. But we are in a state of concern and wonderment about what is going to happen in terms of pit stops. Are they coming in again for a second stop, which I would have thought was extremely unlikely in view of the history at Monza, which is traditionally a one-stop strategy circuit. This very, very quick lap where you want to spend as little time in the pits as possible, but there's a very strange pattern. Can you add anything to that, James?
Well, I can add a few things. Looking at the lap times at the moment, you can see Rubens Barrichello is just a second a lap faster than Juan Montoya. Now, that could be a little bit to do with tyres, but it's more to do with the fact that he's probably a lot lighter in terms of his car. Certainly, teams down here believe Ferrari will have to stop again. There was this little rumour going around about Ferrari having a sort of a brake problem. That might just have tipped them towards the conservative route. Protect the brakes by not carrying too much fuel at any stage in this race, i.e. go for a two-stopper. If that is the case, turn the whole race on its head.
Yes, and the crucial thing then, and I think it is looking more and more likely they will stop again, but the crucial thing then is, what is the gap that Barrichello can pull out before that stop? At the moment, it's 14 seconds, and he's moving away, as James said, at a second a lap, so it's really nip and tuck between Rubens Barrichello and Juan Pablo Montoya for the spoils today. Both of them desperately need to win this Grand Prix.
What sort of an advantage do you think he needs when he comes in? 20 seconds, would that do it?
No, longer than that. I mean, he'll be stationary for 5 or 6 seconds maybe. They won't go for a tyre stop. It'll be, as we call it, a splash and dash, but even so, it's got to cost you 22-23 seconds to negotiate the pit lane. The situation here, of course, Murray, is while you're in the pit lane doing 120 kilometers per hour, it's on a piece of track where you're normally doing 320 kilometers per hour, so you lose an awful lot of time.
Well, whatever. We're riding now with Rubens Barrichello, race leader, on his 40th lap in this 53 lap race, which is coming very, very quickly towards its conclusion. And he is now 15 seconds ahead as Ralf Schumacher starts to add the pressure. He's in 4th place, 5.5 seconds behind his brother. He's just made the fastest lap of the race, 1:25.073, which has broken the lap record created by Mika Häkkinen last year by some 0.6 of a second. So the Williams BMW is really flying. He's stopped, of course. Montoya has stopped. Michael Schumacher, who is third there, has stopped. So has Rubens Barrichello. What's going to happen?
Bring Ralf Schumacher back into the equation. He had a quick stop. We know he put some very quick laps in before his stop, and now he's lapping quickly too, and he's just 5.5 seconds behind Michael, and there he is, and he will not stop again this afternoon. So reintroduce Ralf into the equation. I can see the Ferrari mechanics out in the pit lane. Ferrari have got to stop again. This is looking super for the Williams team,
and it's looking pretty good for Jaguar at the present moment as well. They've only had 2 points finishes so far this year. A magnificent 3rd place for Eddie Irvine and Monaco, and in comes the Ferrari of Michael Schumacher from 3rd position, and that's going to let his brother up into 3rd place in the Williams BMW as the fuel goes into the Ferrari and the board is cleared at the front. There was a splash and dash, and he is out.
And they very confidently chose to change the wheels and tyres in that as well. So Michael then rejoins the racetrack, and Ralf will be delighted at that. He was just 1 second behind Michael as they went over the line, and this then is Montoya lapping Ralf Schumacher lapping Fisichella. What are we seeing? I think we're just seeing a normal replay.
Yeah, meantime, now, here we are with Rubens Barrichello leading the Italian Grand Prix. Is he going to come in? If Michael Schumacher's had to come in, then Rubens Barrichello is going to have to come in, and I think yes, I can see the Ferrari mechanics down there, and here is Barrichello. There they are, and Barrichello goes into the Parabolica, and he will peel off now. He's leading Montoya by just under 6 16 seconds at the moment. James Allen.
Well, he needed about 23 if he was going to get back out in front. I suppose the question now is, will he get back out in front of Ralf Schumacher? And even that is going to be pretty marginal. He might just about do it. It's going to be very, very close indeed. Rubens gets out. I think he will make it. I think he will come out in third place.
Well, there he is, and I'm looking down the track now to see whether Montoya goes through, and yes, he does so! Montoya has taken the lead in the Italian Grand Prix, and Ralf goes through, Ralf Schumacher goes through, and this is really exciting in the closing stages of the event. Lap 42, Barrichello down in third place. Both the Williams BMWs are ahead of him.
Well, it hasn't paid off, has it? Maybe they had to go that route because of brake situation, but it's played nicely into the hands of Williams. And, of course, Ralf, with that very good mid-sector of the race, brought himself back into play too. He will now be chasing down his teammate very, very hard. There's Montoya then having a lap, the BAR of Panis. Panis running down in 9th place. Teammate Villeneuve up in 6th place at the moment in a single World Championship point situation. 5 seconds 5.1 seconds then as they crossed the line last time around between 1 and 2.
Well, hear this, Williams have won not 1 but 3 races this year, all of them by Ralf Schumacher. Montoya has not won a Grand Prix yet in his first season of Formula 1, and it's going to be a mighty close thing. There's the Williams, there is Rubens Barrichello.
Well, Rubens lost about 8 seconds in that pit stop when the fuel hose was not ready for him. But let's see if it completely ruined his chances in this Grand Prix. At the moment he crosses the line, he is 6.4 seconds behind. So yes, indeed, that fuel hose has put Rubens out of position.
And of course it's making things look much rosier for David Coulthard as far as second place in the World Championship is concerned, because Rubens Barrichello is only on 4 potential World Championship points at the present moment, and he started this race 9 points behind Coulthard in second place. Coulthard says the thing he's really interested in is winning, but I'm sure he'd rather finish second than third.
Michael Schumacher having an understandably, considering how he's been this weekend, lacklustre afternoon. He's 18 seconds behind this fight, having also made his second stop. So Barrichello then, can he attack and can he again pass to Williams? Remember, he passed Montoya quite comfortably earlier on in the Grand Prix. He's always been ahead of Ralf in the race so far, but he's appeared to have the best car in the early stages. Let's see what he can do with it now.
Well, this is lap 43 in the 53 lap race, and whatever anybody says, no one is going to be able to accuse Michael Schumacher of making things difficult for his teammate Rubens Barrichello. There is the Brazilian, and Michael Schumacher is a long way down the track behind him in 4th place, but it's still the 2 Williams up front, the 2 Ferraris behind them. Pedro de la Rosa is still in the Jaguar for 5th position ahead of Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR. It's looking good for another point for the troubled BAR team, which will be very welcome for them. Kimi Raikkonen is still there. He's ahead of Alesi, who is 8th. Panis is 9th in the second BAR. Fisichella is in 10th position. 15 cars left out of the 22 who started, and you saw the gap there now. Montoya just 4.2 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher, who has just done the fastest first sector of this Italian Grand Prix, this 3.6 mile lap, and that is the German who now lives in Austria, and you can see those Michelins are getting very, very, very well scrubbed in front as the Williams crew just sit dispassionately in the garage watching what is going on. They've done their job, and Schumacher is continuing, Ralf Schumacher continuing to maintain that blistering pace as the Williams bears down now on the Jordan of Jean Alesi, who is in 8th place. Only the top 8 are on the same lap now. Panis, who is 9th, has been lapped.
Yeah, it's looking a touch wide for Jordan, that one. I believe it's a BAR they're bearing down on now. Let's see what the relative lap times are. Montoya goes over the line at 25.7. Ralf Schumacher on a 26.2. Rubens Barrichello on a 25.5. Barrichello quickest that time round, and look at the gap, ever decreasing. Ralf Schumacher constantly locking his front tyres into those chicanes now.
Yeah, and Ralf Schumacher is grimly holding on to that place as we leave you, but of course we'll be back for the closing stages. .7 seconds now separating the first three, as Olivier Panis in the BAR in 9th position sees in his mirrors the Ralf Schumacher Williams BMW, and Barrichello right up behind him starting to crowd the BAR and saying, move over, let us through. The blue flags wave. Panis knows that he will have to give way for those two. I'm sure he would do anyway. He's an extremely polite and experienced driver, this Frenchman. As there is Montoya, who has lapped Alesi. There is Panis in 9th position in the white BAR. Second and third behind him, almost a full lap now, is the Williams BMW of Ralf Schumacher, and the Scarlet, all Scarlet, no sponsorship stickers on the Ferrari, as they go through into lap 46 out of 53. Not long to go now. It's looking very good for Montoya, but is it looking good for a Williams 1-2? Ralf Schumacher very pressed indeed.
Barrichello losing a bit, Montoya pulling away that time as these two now move into a contest situation. It's really playing into Montoya's hands. Barrichello in a great position to have a go up the inside into the second chicane, but got to have a very willing partner to get away with that, and Ralf taking the easy way through the chicane.
Yeah, he won't be penalised for that, of course. He didn't actually have an advantage. He's gained a few feet as a result of it, though, I think.
Yeah, I think that's touch and go. I think that I've seen that several times this afternoon now, where, sure, they didn't lose a place, but boy, did they pull out some space.
And yes, that's exactly what Ralf Schumacher has done. And remember, he had a problem when he exited over a white line, and we're now on lap 46. Just 7 laps to go at Monza. It's clear lead for Montoya, but look at this battle for second.
It's going to be Barrichello at the end of the straight. Barrichello got a nice slipstream off the parabolica, and I think he can brake later as well, and he has track position. Barrichello will take second place. Ralf desperately trying to go down the outside, and look, that in my view is taking an advantage of the slip road, and he is, well, if he's not letting him by, he jolly well should be. Ralf will be penalised for that. The second time we've seen him do that, taking advantage by using the escape road, and I think he just let him blend through, to be honest.
Just shows how fast a racing brain has to work. I'm sure that Ralf would have said to himself, I've gone over the green concrete, I'm going to be penalised, I'll just feather the throttle slightly and let Rubens Barrichello through and hope to fight back, but I don't think he's going to be able to, because Rubens Barrichello is on a charge. That 47, 53 lap race, Montoya leads by 7 seconds. Here is the replay.
And look, he got in the slipstream. There's an invisible energy that's pulling you along there. Ralf choosing not to close the inside line, and then Rubens went into the corner with his nose ahead, and you would have to say then that Ralf regained a position by going across the runoff area there. Without doubt, he would have been penalised had he have maintained position, in my view.
Side by side, down to the Rettifilio they went. I'm not going to give way, said Ralf Schumacher. I'm not going to give way either, said Rubens Barrichello. But in the end, Ralf Schumacher had to do that, and the Ferrari is now up into second place. Williams BMW leads, Ferrari second, Williams BMW third, and Ferrari fourth. Pedro de la Rosa is still there in the Jaguar, looking good for 2 points. Jacques Villeneuve still there in the BAR in 6th position. We are on lap 48 in this race now. We're riding with Rubens Barrichello now, and there you can see the replay as he cuts across on the apex. Ralf Schumacher goes over the green, stays ahead, backs off. Barrichello goes through, up round the grand curve to the Roja.
he definitely backed off, no question about it, and rightly so. So what can Rubens do now? He lost another 2/10 on the previous lap due to traffic, I believe, but he's got a lot of time, 7.2 seconds to find, and I think that's going to take a bit of doing in the remaining laps.
If this race lasted a lot longer, I couldn't see Rubens Barrichello catching Montoya the way the Colombian is going now. He really, Richland, and there is Alex Young out of the Italian Grand Prix. He has beached his Minardi on the gravel, rear wheels on the loose stuff. He gets wheel spin when he feeds the power through. He's out of the race, but he's got nothing to be ashamed of. He's driven with great distinction in his first Grand Prix, and that's what happened.
And it's in a very tricky place. He's on the exit of the first Lesmo corner. Second time he spun in those two corners today, and that car will take a little bit of getting out of the way. Yellow flags will be ferociously waving as the cars head down there. They will have to get some kind of vehicle in there to pull it out.
I wonder if Montoya wins this race, what his demeanour is going to be like when he's in the interview room. He is an astonishingly calm and mature, matter-of-fact chap. He doesn't have what a lot of people regard as the South American temperament, and he's got this tremendous background behind him in Formula 3000 as the European champion, and then in Champ Car racing. That's Bernaldi on a replay going over the edge of the chicane all by himself, so he won't suffer except in terms of time. But Montoya, as I say, richly deserves this win if it's coming his way, because he's on lap 49 now. There are still 4 laps to go at the end of this one, each of them of some 3.6 miles long. Many a slip twixt cup and lip as the Minardi is removed, and I've seen many Grand Prix being lost on the last lap, let alone the last 4. But the Williams is looking extremely good. They're getting some, not revenge, but a return after the terrible race they had 2 weeks ago in Belgium, when they started on the front row of the grid with Montoya and Ralf Schumacher in pole and second places, only to have Montoya stalled, then his engine overheated. Ralf Schumacher started up on the jacks, had a terrible race, but Montoya now is really flying, as is Rubens Barrichello. We are looking over the top of the Ferrari now as he goes round the grand curve at some 155 miles an hour, backs off for turn 4. He was doing over 200 miles an hour as he approached it, out of the left, out of the right, now up to the first Lesmo, the right-hander.
Yellow's still waving, although I think the truck is out of the way. That is your leader then exiting the second of those 2 corners, and as Rubens was going through the first, so it gives you an idea of the distance between them. Exactly 6 seconds as they crossed the line, the end of the previous lap. I think if Rubens were able to catch Montoya, he may have a pretty solid chance of passing him into the first chicane, but he's not going to catch him in the time available.
No, 6 seconds. The gap's come down from there. So that is the gap visually. It's a lot more than it looks as you look down through the television lens down the straight from the Parabolica back to the Ascari curves. And here is Montoya exiting that Parabolica to complete the lap and go through. He has now got 3 laps to go, including the one he has just started, and the gap has come down to 5.7 seconds, but Barrichello is closing at the rate of about 0.3 of a second a lap. It is not enough. If Montoya can just keep it going, he's within sight almost. We must continue to hope for Pedro de la Rosa in the Jaguar, who has driven so well, and he's well ahead, of course. Eddie Irvine retired a long time ago. He was the 4th retirement after Trulli, Button and Coulthard had gone out. Jarno Trulli having been hit by Button's Benetton at the beginning of the race. David Coulthard had an engine blow. Mika Häkkinen is out, Verstappen is out, Frentzen, and so is Alex Young. 14 cars left out of the 22 who started started, and now you see Rubens Barrichello, he has really got the loud pedal down. That is Pedro de la Rosa starting another lap, still in 5th position. I was talking to Niki Lauda at great length yesterday, the Jaguar team boss, and he was saying they've got a long way to go, and indeed they have. This year's car is not nearly as good as they wanted it to be. There's a better one coming along next year, but it's not until they've got a wind tunnel that they can really operate on all the time that they're going to make progress. But 2 points in the bag will be very satisfactory for Jaguar at the present moment. It'll get them that much closer to Benetton, who are in 7th place in the Constructors' Championship.
We saw and a great drive from De La Rosa, has to be said today, and be a well-earned 2 points for him. Surprising that Alesi, he's 2 stopped, of course. We saw them both down in 8th place. He was absolutely flying in the beginning, but he hasn't shown anything like that kind of pace since, for whatever reason. But Villeneuve looking solid for that final point, although he's got Raikkonen just 3 seconds behind him in 7th. We haven't seen anything of that fight as we watch Montoya now 5.4 seconds ahead with this and 1 other lap to go. So Montoya looking good for he's due a win, isn't he, Murray?
Yeah, he certainly is. Here he is, and just to establish a point in the Constructors' Championship, Sauber have got neither car in the points because Raikkonen is just out of the points in 7th position. Heidfeld is down in 11th position, and if Villeneuve can finish in 6th position where he is at the moment, it will mean that BAR have closed the gap on the team in front of them, Sauber, by 1 point. It's going to be very, very close after the last Grand Prix of the year in Japan. But now we are on the last lap of the Italian Grand Prix, and Juan Pablo Montoya has got a comfortable 5-second lead over the man you are watching at the moment, Rubens Barrichello, with Ralf Schumacher 10 seconds behind him. So here is Montoya exiting and coming down towards us. He's only got a small part of the lap left now as he exits the second Lesmo, comes down towards the Ascari curves. There he is. That's where Mika Häkkinen went off yesterday and heavily damaged the McLaren, which has been rebuilt. But it looks as though Juan Pablo Montoya is going to give Williams their 4th victory of the year and his first in his Formula One career, which I'm sure is going to lead to many, many more. Juan Pablo Montoya from Colombia is going to win his 15th Grand Prix by, I would estimate, about 5 seconds from the Ferrari of Rubens Barrichello. Out of the parabolica, down goes the accelerator. He can almost see the checkered flag now. There it is. Montoya wins in Italy at Monza for Williams and BMW as Rubens Barrichello finishes second, 5 seconds behind the Williams BMW. And we now wait for Ralf Schumacher and Michael Schumacher.
Yep, fuel hose cost Rubens Barrichello a chance of victory today, and a probable victory, it has to be said. Barrichello, I think, the fastest man out there on balance, but only just. It would have been such a close fight. Michael Schumacher crossing the line, you saw in 4th, and Montoya deserves it. And what a great Philip, at least a tiny bit for the world of kart racing after the terrible accident of Alex Zanardi yesterday, which saddened everybody in professional motor racing. Of course, goes without saying, but he was a particularly popular driver.
And a Williams driver.
Absolutely, and a Williams driver, of course. And that's just a little tiny something for kart racing, but for Montoya, a very important moment in his Grand Prix career.
Yes, scarlet Ferrari coloured smoke there. They would have hoped that it was for a Ferrari first, either Rubens or Michael Schumacher, but it was for the white and blue of Williams. James Allen.
Well, Murray, I'm down here in the Williams garage with an absolutely delighted Sir Frank Williams. You always had faith in this Juan Montoya. You brought him over from America. He's got his first win finally.
Well, he's always been a quick driver over the last few years, and now he's settled down into the team. He's learning what to do with a Grand Prix car, and I would think he'll win a lot of races in his career from now on, hopefully many with us.
It was a very exciting motor race, wasn't it? We always believed that Ferrari had to make that second stop, though, I guess.
No, we thought that, like us, they were on a one-stop, and we were delighted to see them stop. and judging by the fuel amount they put in, we're fairly sure they would have to stop for a second time. Surprised us, but we're very happy.
Many congratulations, Frank.
Well, congratulations, Sir Frank Williams. Congratulations, Patrick Head. Congratulations, Gavin Fisher, who designed the car with Jeff Williams, aerodynamicist. Congratulations, Sam Michael, and everybody else at Williams, at Grove, and here at Monza. Williams well and truly back in the hunt with the BMW engine, having suffered in the last few years with other engines before they got this tremendously powerful and now reliable BMW engine. In the Drivers' Championship, as a result of finishing in 4th place, Michael Schumacher has now exceeded the points that he got last year. David Coulthard is still in 2nd place, but instead of being 9 points ahead of Rubens Barrichello, he is now only 3 points ahead, and he is only 9 points ahead of Ralf Schumacher, so it's still up for grabs who is going to be 2nd in the Drivers' Championship. There is Ralf Schumacher. Montoya has moved up to 5th position in the Drivers' Championship from 6th place, and Mika Häkkinen has been pushed down a place. I think that will be of academic interest to the Finn. But now the Tifosi, as the Ferrari mad Italian Formula One fans have always been called, pour on to the circuit, as traditionally they have done for years and years and years, to assemble underneath the podium to pay homage to Juan Pablo Montoya, to their Ferrari driver Rubens Barrichello, and to the 2nd Williams BMW driver Ralf Schumacher, with Michael Schumacher in the points but not on the podium. But he's had enough of those in his career. The incredible 4 times world champion Michael Schumacher has been up on that podium many times. 95 times, over 60% of his races he's finished in the top 3. He won't be too unhappy. He was very unhappy to start this race, and he, as I know everybody else is, will be very happy to know that it has gone without incident. Not without incident in terms of racing excitement, and it's a new victor at Monza in Italy in superlative weather conditions. In the Constructors' Championship, of course, it's yet more points for Ferrari, and they've now got nearly double the points of McLaren, who are 2nd. But McLaren are now going to have to fight for that 2nd place in the Constructors' Championship, because they're only 8 points ahead of Williams, and there are still 32 Constructors' Championship points to be won in the remaining 2 races. Michael Schumacher and Ferrari may have won their championships, but it is still wide open for 2nd in the drivers and 2nd in the constructors. Happy about things today?
It's been a strange weekend, as we've said. I'm happy with the result. I think a great drive from Barrichello, a great drive from Montoya, world-class stuff at the front there, and a good fight. Difficult to say which of them is driver of the day, but I would have been happy for either of them to win the race, to be frank, and this man deserves to be standing on the top step of that podium, no doubt about it.
We're going to hear the Colombian national anthem. one to follow over the noise of the crowd, but it is a very, very happy, and deservedly so, Juan Pablo Montoya. And it will be the British national anthem now, of course, for the British Williams team. It's been a strange and subdued weekend for the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, but it finishes on a bright, lively and happy note with a very, very enthusiastic and excited crowd down there. We've seen a race to remember, no doubt about that, and we've been looking forward to Williams doing well as Dickie Stanford there, the Williams team manager, takes the Constructors' Championship trophy for the Williams victory. And his man Ralf Schumacher also up there in third place as Rubens Barrichello receives his cup for third position. You know, of course, that there is going to be no champagne celebration, and rightly so, on the podium here at Monza. But it's been, nevertheless, an extremely memorable weekend. And one, I'm sure, which sets the pattern for the remainder of this season and, of course, for 2002.
Di ottobre, quando la Ferrari festeggerà la stagione 2001 qui a Monza con Schumacher, Rubens Barrichello e Federer insieme a loro. È un evento sportivo tale
finishing drivers at the 2001 Italian Grand Prix. It's Juan Pablo Montoya, Rubens Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher. Juan Pablo, many congratulations. Your first victory, the first victory for a Colombian in Formula One. How do you feel?
I'm just so happy, you know. And first of all, I think I want to thank everybody at Williams, BMW, Michelin. They've done a fantastic job for me, and just so pleased with the result.
Thank you, Juan. Rubens, a great race from yourself. You overtook both these guys next to you at one point, but it all seemed to go wrong in that first pit stop. What happened?
Well, I'm not really sure what happened. We lost a lot of time, but you know, as I said before, we would put a great show. I mean, the car was very well. I think Bridgestone did a fantastic job with the tires, and we were very competitive with the engine as well. So it was great. But unfortunately, we lost that little bit, and it wasn't enough to win the race.
Hey, Rubens. Ralf, you achieved fastest lap, but it seems your car wasn't very consistent today. Was that the case?
No, I must say, didn't get it right the whole weekend, basically. We had a few problems with tyres, but you know, team did a fantastic job in finishing first and third, and that's, I think, it's a great achievement. So, big thanks to the team.
Thanks, Ralf. One. We now go back to Indianapolis, where, of course, last time you were there, you won the 500s. What are your feelings going into that race?
I think it's going to be a very emotional race for everybody, and I think I'm very happy to go back there. Last time I was there, I won. Got my first Formula One win now, so it'd be the car should work there pretty well, so it should be quite interesting.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now a word from each in your own languages, starting with Juan Pablo.
Pues la verdad estoy muy contento con el resultado. El carro estaba funcionando muy bien durante todo el fin de semana. En la carrera no teníamos el carro más rápido, pero estuvo muy consistente y nos ayudó mucho, y la verdad estoy muy contento de la primera victoria.
Thank you. And Rubens.
Obviamente foi fim de semana muito difícil. Acho que o ambiente estava muito carregado dentro da Ferrari. Então estou muito contente que o fim de semana tenha terminado. Foi uma corrida que eu acho que eu dei o melhor de mim. Foi uma pena ter perdido todo aquele tempo no pit stop. Se não fosse por isso, acho que teria dado para ganhar a corrida. Mas de qualquer forma, estou só contente que tenha terminado, que todo mundo tenha saúde, porque afinal de contas eu fiquei muito chocado com o acidente do Zanardi ontem e não passei bem durante a corrida quando pensava.
Thank you, Rubens. And finally, Ralph.
Ja, ich glaube, es war ein hervorragendes Wochenende fürs Team, Erster und Dritter zu werden. Also ein Dank an all die Jungs. Nur man muss mir verzeihen, wenn ich nicht gerade allzu happy darüber bin, weil ich glaube, dieses Wochenende hat es genug schlimme Dinge gegeben, wie verschiedene Unfälle, und deshalb bin ich vielleicht nicht ganz so gut drauf. Dafür muss ich mich entschuldigen.